Hello, and welcome to the third installment of Beyond Sticks four-part webinar series. My name is Heidi Lewis, and I'm the DC Area Director for Beyond Sticks. We are really thankful that you chose to spend time with us today. Our mission as an organization is to empower athletes through field hockey, and especially during this time of staying safe at home, we believe that part of fulfilling that mission is supporting you, the parents. And so we are really excited to share the panel of experts that we have for you today from USA Field Hockey. We have a lot of content to get to, so I just have a couple of quick administrative announcements, and then we'll intro our panel, and then we'll jump right in. So first point, we are a question-friendly organization. So please, if you have questions, use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen to submit those questions, and we will try to answer all of them if we can. And if not, we'll do our best to follow up with any content or information that you need. Two, we are happy that we're able to provide this as a free resource. We are also a small nonprofit that's now in month 3 of being shut down. So if you find today helpful, and you feel so led, you can go to the webinar section of our Beyond Sticks website and find a link there to donate. And then finally, the members of our awesome panel today. We have for you Sally Goggin, who is the National Development Director for USA Field Hockey. So she is responsible for growing and developing the game of field hockey in the United States. And along with her, we have Jenna Ortega, who is the Sport Development Manager. So she works really closely with Sally to design and implement these programs and frameworks. We also have Phil Edwards, who is the Senior Manager of Coaching and Performance. He's worked with the U.S. national team since 2017 in a variety of roles across the junior and senior levels. We have Amanda Magadan, who is a U.S. national team athlete. She's been a member of the women's national team since 2017. She's also a 2017 grad of Lafayette College, so go Patriot League. And then our final panelist, who's also going to be jumping in and out with some questions and follow-up, is Chrissy Summers, who is our founder and owner of Beyond Sticks. All right, let's get started. So Sally, I'd like to start with you in kind of a big picture question. If you could share with us US Field Hockey's core values and how those affect youth hockey and growing the game.
Sure. Thank you so much, Heidi and Chrissy, for having us, and to all my colleagues for being on with us today. I'd love to talk to you about our core values and our American Development Model, ADM. But to start, I'd just like to talk a little bit about field hockey in general, as I know some of you are brand new to the game and want to tell you a little bit about it. So field hockey is the 3rd most popular sport in the world with over 2 billion fans. It's an Olympic sport for men and women, and it's a sport for life that kids can start playing as early as 4 or 5 years old and play and compete internationally as old as 85 years old. So our mission at USA Field Hockey is to grow the game, serve members, succeed internationally. And we see that as we grow the game, we'll succeed. And as we succeed, we will continue to grow the game. So it's really cyclical. And so it's so nice to have parents interested in learning more about the sport and learning more about how you can get involved in it. So in the United States, we have a problem. Over 70% of kids drop out of sport before they ever reach high school. And that's something that we want to change for the benefit of our kids. There's obviously so many health benefits, physical and mental, to playing field hockey and to playing sports in general. And for too long, we focused on the wrong things, on winning, on early sports specialization, and that has led to this dropout. And that's something that we look at with the help of the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee. So a couple of years ago, we sat down with the US OPC, Olympic and Paralympic Committee, and worked on the development of our American Development Model, which is really underpinned by our core values. So Heidi, do you mind putting up our core values on the screen for everyone? So one of the first projects we did was to look at what makes field hockey special and what are the things that we want to value above all other. And I'll wait. I think that you're, there you go.
Pulling it up for you.
No problem. Thank you. There you go. So anyway, we looked at what are the core values, and we came up as an organization and as a sport with a lot of feedback with 6 core values that are really critical to what we do and how we're going to do it. The first one is safety, health, and well-being, and sports must provide a safe environment, both physically and free from any form of abuse. And USA Field Hockey takes that very seriously with our federal mandated safe sport policies. And now more than ever at a time of coronavirus, this safety, health, and well-being is really standing out in the forefront. We also value educated and engaged parents. We understand that parents' attitudes and their involvement is what virtually drives the sport of field hockey at a young age. And so we appreciate all of you on the phone. You are exactly the type of people that we want involved in our game, those that invest their time. We also value trained and certified coaches and umpires. We believe that trained and certified coaches and umpires provide a better, more fun, and safer experience for kids. Teams and teamwork is our third value, something that we're really proud of with field hockey and that we hear time and time again, that it's such a wonderful team sport, and the values and lessons that you learn through participating on a team. And again, the social benefits are something we're really proud of and something we love about field hockey. Next is inclusion and accessibility. Field hockey is a sport for everyone, and this is an area where we struggle with. We have a reputation of being a wealthy sport, primarily for upper middle class, and that's something we want to change. We want to make sure that field hockey is available to everyone in every zip code. And then lastly, fun and learner-centered. The number one reason that kids participate in sports is because it's fun. And the number one reason they stop participating in sports is because it stops to be fun. On the flip side, winning is ranked 42nd when you speak to kids. And so we are really, really focused on making sure that fun is something that is at the front and center of absolutely every stage of development and everything we do. So.
Awesome. Could you share a little bit about the American Development Model that you mentioned?
Sure. The American Development Model is a framework for developing a lifelong love of field hockey. And it's based on a Canadian long-term athlete development model that came out of ice hockey approximately, well, a little over 10 years ago. And again, with the help of the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee and with funding from grants, we got together a group of experts, sport experts, field hockey experts, nationally, domestically, internationally, to develop a development model for our culture and for our sport. And our development model consists of 5 different stages. It's basically, again, making sure that we train, teach, work with kids and adults at wherever they are in the stage. We know that everyone discovers field hockey at different stages of their life. Some might discover it as young as age 4. Some might be learning the game at age 50. And how we work with them, how we speak with them needs to be different. And Heidi, would you mind now throwing up the 5 stages of development flyer?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that up for you right now?
I'm still on core values. There you go. Perfect. One of those. So while Heidi looks for that, I will start with what the 5 stages are. The 5 stages of development basically start with physical literacy and discovering the game, learning about field hockey, and go all the way to establishing a lifelong love of the sport. So the 5 stages are discover. Oh, here we go. Thank you. The 5 stages are discover, play and learn, compete and improve, seriously fun and peak performance, to lifetime engagement. And for any of you that have seen development models in the past, typically it looks more like a pyramid, with youth being the base of the pyramid, the widest part of and then going down into the high performance. And what we've done very deliberately in our 5 stages of development is put lifetime engagement at the base, because we recognize that adults, parents, coaches, umpires are the foundation for a sport and for a sport's growth. And so we felt it was really critical that the lifetime engagement stays at the bottom to support all that goes on at the early stages. And again, what we've done, and you'll be able to access much of this on our website, is define what each of these 5 stages entails. So for example, discovering. In the discovery stage, regardless of age, we want that first experience to be outstanding, to be fun, to be really the only thing that you need to learn and discover is that field hockey is a great game and that you want to learn more. That takes you directly to the next stage, which is play and learn. We believe that the best way to get into a sport is by playing it and by enjoying it, and have introduced small-sided games and equipment that is specific for different stages of development. So for example, Jenna will be telling you more about some new equipment that we've recently launched that makes discovering and playing and learning field hockey more fun for all ages. And so as you can see, each stage has different goals. You're going to be learning the rules, for example, in both the play and learn and the compete and improve stage, and you're going to be learning it through gameplay. So we're very excited about this American development model and have programs and resources that support every stage.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Jenna, would you mind telling us a little bit more about the specifics or specific resources that US Field Hockey has as we're learning about field hockey and then how to get started playing?
Yes, I can. Great intro, Sally. The ADM and all of its resources, Chrissy and Heidi will be sending those out in an email. And so all the links all the resources that we talk about, you can find directly through those links. And that's all going to be sitting on the USA Field Hockey website and under the ADM section. So we're going to go through some of the things that we have available. And as you saw from one of our core values, educated and engaged parents is something that we truly value, and we want to continue to keep you guys in mind because we understand that you make and or break the experience for your children. And obviously the children are the future of our game. And so we really want to make sure that you feel comfortable supporting your child, getting engaged in the game in all different roles, just to create that lifetime engagement. But then also the base of that is really just making sure that you're providing your child with a good model of what physical activity with a healthy lifestyle should look like. And so through sport, you're engaged in movement and you learn all the great life skills, and you're engaged in with a team in a group setting. So many benefits come from the game of field hockey, and it really does start with you. And so one of the things that we have created is called a Field Hockey 101 document. A lot of times we'll share this with club administrators and coaches and encourage them to share them with the parents. And so it's just a really useful tool that we developed that talks about the rules, the structures of the game, a little bit of the history, some of the points that Sally made right away. It's all listed off in the document itself. So I'm just going to share my screen.
I'm gonna be like a really quick hype man for Jenna because she was like really calm talking about this document. These are super awesome. Like they are so much better graphically designed than any of us field hockey coaches could do. And they're really great for parents if there are coaches on here. So I am just like, I'm like a DJ for these documents right now. They're so great. You should laminate them and put them on a little ring and carry them and give them to the dad that's like, what is that called? We should get a corner. Like you should do that. Okay, I'm done. I'm done. We go, Jenna.
No, I appreciate it, Chrissy. Welcome all the hyping that you provide. Yeah, so this is our Field Hockey 101 document. And as you can see, it really covers all the basics that you'll need to familiarize yourself with the game. And Sally and I we carry these around just as Chrissy had shared, laminated on a ring. This way we can use as a tool when we talk to people, but it's just really a good resource with nice graphics. It's short and sweet and to the point. and really gives you an overview of the game itself and what's entailed. So then, as you know, a parent supporting your child, you feel more comfortable, more confident. That makes you want to get engaged more in the game itself, supporting your child. And then obviously you have a better idea what your child's engaged in. So I think there's just more excitement all around between yourself and your child. One of the other things, and I'll get into this resource itself as well, just showing you, we have an image of 3 different size balls. So, well, 2 different size balls. These are just 2 different colors. But these are modified Go balls. Our Go balls are slightly larger than a regular field hockey ball. It's lighter. They move really well on all different surfaces, indoor, outdoor, grass, turf, blacktop. And they roll a little slower on a smooth surface, and they roll a little faster on a thick surface such as grass. So they're great for beginners, but they're really something that can be used at all levels and all ages.
Okay, I'm also gonna hype the Go balls, guys, because Jenna's being super professional. I'm just gonna be like the parent that freaks out here. Like, we have ordered Go balls for Beyond Sticks, and they have completely changed our warm-ups. They are incredible. Dads can order them and feel like they're good, because we know dads like to feel like they're really good at sports right away. And like, order the Go, like for Father's Day, like order Go balls for Father's Day. Like, okay, I'm
I
done.
like that.
Okay, I'm like the interrupter of the hype.
I'll have to work with our communications team. We'll put out that Father's Day promo.
Yeah, exactly.
And then these are the different sticks. So now USA Field Hockey, we provide wood sticks, and we also provide plastic sticks. So plastic sticks are really good for physical education classes, but also good for you guys at home use, so that if your family is anything like my family, we could go at it and not just necessarily hit the ball, but other things, whether it's objects in the house or each other. Plastic sticks could be useful inside, but like I said, we do have the wood sticks available as well. And they go from size 24 in the plastic to size 26 in wood, all the way up to 36 in each. And we did color coordinate them just so that you know the different sizes, especially if there's a larger group. So if you're working in a team setting, you're able to recognize which stick is which size. Let me see. I don't know how I stopped sharing my screen.
Are you dead? And so also, we are getting a couple questions about, so while Jenna's unsharing, about will these resources be available? So they are on the website, but we found sometimes it can be, especially if you're a parent, you're coming fresh to USA Field Hockey. It's a lovely website, USA Field Hockey, but it can be hard to find some of the PDFs. So we are gonna,
so much good content.
there's so much. So we're gonna after this webinar is over, don't you guys worry. We're gonna send through the actual PDF, so you don't have to go to the website, but we will also be sending you the link. So if you want to go get lost in the wormhole of USA Field Hockey, like, be our guest. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, but we helped you guys out. We selected a couple of the resources that we have created, or some of the things that we actually have taken from other organizations that we find really helpful. And we have specifically pulled them so that Chrissy and Heidi can send them your way. But again, there's much more on the website, so feel free to explore and look some more. So like I said, the Field Hockey 101, that's one of the things that we think definitely all parents should have. Print them out, share them with, you know, anyone else on the sidelines, have them during the games. I think they're just so helpful, and just for you familiarizing yourself with the game. Another thing is we do have a parent information card. So that basically just kind of states the different things that you should be checking yourself in, and what role you should be playing in your child's life in field hockey. And so that's just another checklist we have. The Aspen Institute's a project play checklist. That's one of the organizations that actually started this whole American development model. They were the ones that provided all the facts and data that made the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee develop this model. They have a parent checklist. They have actually different questions that you can ask your child, and they split it up dependent on the age of your children. So the way you're going to communicate with your 5 or 6-year-old is going to be different than the way you communicate with your 9, 10, 11-year-old. So they have some really incredible resources that I highly recommend you checking out. Those will be included in the email that Chrissy and Heidi send you. Another thing is it's called our Let's Play document. It's Let's Play. It focuses on physical literacy. We partner with an organization called Spider Fit Kids. Brett Klicka, who's the founder of that phenomenal guy that just working with children and having that baseline of physical literacy. So for those of you that aren't familiar with that, basically kids aren't getting out and playing enough. PE's been, taken away from school curriculums. Kids aren't outside, they're not playing with each other. And so they're not really getting that movement, those foundational movements that are so critical in not just excelling in sport or in field hockey, but just being a healthy individual and setting them up for life and setting them up for a lifetime of healthy engagement. And so that document's really good. It's broken, there's like 60 pages plus of it, of different circuits that you can go through with your kids. There's some stuff called Guide to Discovery where you can throw out some different imagery words where you get the kids moving and being creative and using your imagination. That's why play is so important, is because it gets the kids moving, but it gets them thinking. And we understand that creativity is so important. And, as you look down the road and as they, really truly look to perform at the higher level on the field. And I know Phil will talk and get more into that, but that's one really good resource that is sitting there as well. I don't know. I don't know if Heidi, you had another question or if I should just jump into the different game formats.
I think you can just jump into the different game formats. You're on a roll. Let's keep it going. Keep sharing those resources.
Yes, definitely. So to some of the different game formats, as I said, those are some documents and resources that are great for you just to gain knowledge, gaining some confidence, and just really reassuring like you are supporting your child in the right way. And one of the biggest things that we really want to hit hard is that fun piece. Again, that's a value, that's one of our core values, but that's something that you should continue to remind yourself as a parent. During this whole quarantine, it's just you and your children, so you have no idea if you're doing things the right way. You're probably scrolling through social media and seeing all these parents that are doing phenomenal things and engaging with their children with school activities and fun, different physical activities, and you're just, trying to manage cleaning the house and feeding your children and keeping your kids engaged in something.
There's no cleaning, Jenna.
Okay, no cleaning. It's just
maybe we should clear that up. Okay. For when the first visitors arrive, there's no, I'm just
okay. But yeah, it's just making sure that joy, that's what we want, is that your kids experience joy in some form. So as you look to bring field hockey into your home, just remind yourself, if you're asking yourself if you're doing this right, the biggest thing that we want to get across is get them playing and have that joy in the game. That is the key thing. If you can do that, great. And one of the things we like to say is just getting them out and playing. And so if it doesn't necessarily look somewhat like field hockey, that's great. So one thing, you literally could just throw out some objects, get them, say, okay, you guys are going to play a game. We're going to set up 2 goals. Here's 3 different objects. You guys create the rules, you create the game. The only thing is that these are the 2 goals you guys got to score on. Go. You can throw in a rubber chicken, you can throw in a Nerf ball, you can throw in a balloon. So just get them thinking, get them being creative, and give them some ownership on the game itself. So that's just play. Now, we have some small-sided structured games and some resources that sit on our USA Field Hockey website. One of them is called Game On Field Hockey. And so actually the cards that I showed you with the balls and the sticks, that has structured gameplay on, it gives you rules, it gives you the different dimensions, it gives you just the leadership roles that can be involved in the game. So that's just more so of a traditional but small-sided fun play. Um,
Can I ask a follow-up question to that, Jenna? So
Yep.
for the small-sided games, if you are one child, or say you only have one field hockey athlete or one person who's played, and there's small-sided games, like how would you go? What's your thought on modifying that? So instead of having 6 field hockey athletes, you have one field hockey athlete and 6 family members who've been dragged into the game.
well, that we can, I'll chime in, but I'll hold it off a little bit for Phil, because I think that's where backyard hockey comes into play.
Okay.
So that gets more into the creative use of household objects and objects that are in the house that are just readily available, and you're playing with maybe non-field hockey athletes. So backyard hockey is one really incredible resource that we launched during this quarantine, and I think that's probably going to be the most applicable to your time right now. But yeah, so game on field hockey, all sided structured play. There's 20 information cards that sit on that website, and again, those are going to be sent to you. And then the other thing that I want to hit on is called walking hockey. So yes, that's one of the things that we're looking to open it up to people of all ages, because running can be intimidating. So we actually have a walking hockey guide with rules, recommendations, but it's a really flexible, small-sided game that encourages all levels and abilities to come into play and be introduced to the sport and just feel comfortable with the game itself, but then also making sure that everyone's having fun. And it's kind of funny when you see the little kids and the adults trying to walk, because the kids really don't want to just walk. It's really a struggle. So that's kind of a nice turn, a play on things, another challenge to keep them on their toes. So I think that's it really for my stuff. Like I said, backyard hockey, great resource. And I'm going to let Phil talk about it because he is the mastermind behind it all.
Yes. So Phil, I don't know if you wanted to jump in on backyard hockey right now, since we've teased it so much.
Yeah, you picked it up. I've got to deliver now, but yeah, thanks Heidi and Chrissy for having us, and thanks everyone for joining us. And Jenna, thank you for teeing this up quite nicely. Yeah, so as Jenna said, backyard field hockey is a new game that we developed at the onset of the whole situation we're currently in, as a tool, really, or I said tool is the wrong word, an invitation to go and play, to just make use of the space you have available and the tools you have available to go and play a game that could look something like field hockey, but may look like an amalgamation of a few different sports depending on how you play it. So there's a few different parts to the backyard field hockey game. And can you guys see my screen? Is that showing up? Yeah. Okay, so there's 5 bits to it really, and all of this is available on the website for free to download, and I'm sure Heidi and Chrissy will include it in their email links. But there's 5 bits. The first bit is the game builder, the bit in the middle, and this is the flow chart that is designed just for people to co-create games together. So maybe mom, dad, and daughter. It could be brothers, sisters, cousins, whoever you're currently in a position to be able to play with. But it's just a diagram that you follow the flow diagram, and it helps you design a game with what you have available. So the first port of call, as an example, would be to choose your stick. So you may have 4 players, but only 2 field hockey sticks, and so you can use what's available. So ice hockey sticks would work. I'm sure we've all played a little bit of broom ball in our time. But anything that's available can help us play a game that looks and feels and is something akin to the game of field hockey, but not necessarily exactly the same. So by using the game builder, we can design a game that just meets our needs at that moment in time. The space we have available, there's important things on there when we design the arena, or think of local rules, is if don't squash mums, and making sure you're not running over the flower bed. Maybe there's a penalty if you hit the ball into a certain area. I know for me growing up, if you hit the ball over the fence, that was a long walk around. It wasn't an easy get to the garden at the end to go and get it. So there's different ways we can design the games, and obviously kids in general are great at creating games themselves anyway. So it's just really a tool to leverage that, and can be a great way of parents working with their kids to co-create some games. off the game builder, there's 4 expansion packs which can be used or not used depending on what you're looking at. A good one to look at if you only have one kid who just wants to play and have a challenge by themselves is the Power Play Spinner down the bottom here, and these are a host of different skill challenges. So the trash can challenge, an example, is just flicking the ball into a trash can from all sorts of different distances. And all those kind of things. A few different ones in a water bottle challenge is a passing or shooting exercise where you're trying to knock over a water bottle. And I know Amanda is a fan of that game from national team training. There's been a few dented water bottles along the way with that. But another key one to point out would be the goalkeeper cards. So there's, I guess, if you don't have a field hockey background, it can be the challenge can be the perception that field hockey is quite a technical sport, and it can be a bit of fear associated with feeling like you might need to offer some support that we don't necessarily have the knowledge to do. The goalkeeper cards are a great set of cards is for them that just simply by manipulating the goalkeeper, which is just a way of making it harder to score, we might see our kids try some different skills. So if you see the Jonathan Claggers card here, who's the current #1 goalkeeper for the men's national team, his superpower is he's unbeatable when you shoot low. So if Jonathan Claggers is playing in goal and you're using that card, just by laying something across the goal mouth, I mean, you have to lift it to score, we can start to see kids start to explore and have a play around with how they can lift it without anyone having to tell them how to do it. And it might take them a little bit of time, but I'm pretty sure that they'll find a way to get the ball over the goalkeeper in the end. So that's going to be a nice tool if you don't have any sort of field hockey background. So yeah, you can dive into this as much or as little as you want. Everything is standalone, can be used in its own way, or can be used as part of the games builder as you design your games. And there'll be a couple more expansion packs coming in future weeks, and they'll be focused on more individual development. So we got some skill dice for field players, some goalkeeping skill dice as well, and we'll see. We're working on it, but we might have some legacy cards coming up with some familiar names from the past, featuring on some hero power cards. But yeah, so watch this space on that.
I love that. I love every time there's an expansion pack, I'm just dying to figure out like what the new twist is. I like it. It's an awesome resource.
And what I really love about Phil's Backyard Hockey, like huge kudos to him, is, you know, it sets a structure up. So for parents who, you know, I have 4 children, right? So if you have multiple kids who play multiple sports, you can actually use this structure and like challenge your kid. Like if you have a soccer player and a lacrosse player and a field hockey player at home, like if you can have them find a way to like make a multi-sport game, like backyard hockey can almost become like backyard field day for your kids. And that's a great thing. Like one, when your children are playing with themselves and allow you to clean, like Jenna is thinking that we're doing as parents, like that's really great. So thanks for getting our children in the backyard, Phil.
The key thing to highlight is just an invitation to go play, and Jenna hit on it before, and you just mentioned it there, Chrissy, is it's not always going to look exactly like the traditional game of field hockey, and to be honest, that can be a really good thing. So if we look at something called the athletic skills model, they would talk about donor sports and multi-sports. So donor sports would be sports that are similar in some way to the main sport we're playing. So field hockey is our main sport, then in some ways, soccer would be an obvious donor sport in terms of the tactical and movement and team problem-solving aspect of things. But you could look at other sports like tennis can be a donor sport as well because of the movement skills involved and having to hit a ball with a racket rather than a stick, but having to intercept a ball in the air. So they're donor sports, and then multi-sports would be other stuff that you don't get from field hockey. So you don't do any climbing in field hockey. So climbing up a playground frame in the backyard would be a kind of multi-sport activity, which would also add to a child's physical literacy and ultimately make them better and more rounded athletes in the long run.
Awesome. Love that multi-sport aspect. So Chrissy, since you've chimed in and set us straight a couple times on what's really happening in parental households,
I don't mind monolith, but yeah.
Would you just mind sharing what your experience has been? Because I know you have little ones at home who can't participate in their normal activities. So how have you gotten creative, or what's changed for you guys?
Well, my kids are really little, so it's a little bit different than, you know, the athletes or some of the parents who are on here and their kids are missing sports. Like, but I think about what Phil was talking about, and, you know, I was sort of rolling this over in my head, and I think that this is a great opportunity to think about like a child-led or a lead from behind opportunity for you as a parent. Like, as parents, we sort of, you know, you put your kids in a role and you're like, this child is my lacrosse child, or this is my child who loves this. And sort of the quarantine for some of us has allowed us to do things like learning how to make bread or do something that they didn't know they liked. And I think it's letting your kid have that opportunity too. So, you know, if it's, you know, you want to encourage joy and movement to be welded together so that becomes lifelong. And I think that the sport part of it like can happen elsewhere. And I see sometimes where parents, you know, if you turn field hockey into a chore like making your bed, it's going to be something that's hard for them to come back to. So that's really what I think about, is that you want to make it fun. So, and you don't want them to destroy your flowers. Or in Phil's case, they did destroy his mother's flowers the whole time. But, you know, so, you know, there's putting limits on it, but it's about seeing what they're into. And the other thing I was thinking about is sometimes you have parents who are like, man, I like paid for club, I paid for all this stuff, my kid hasn't even picked up their stick while they've been in quarantine. And I would say, like, maybe that's telling you something, but it also might be that their main motivation right now for field hockey is their friends. And that's okay too, right? Like, I played field hockey because all my friends played field hockey. And then later on down the road, like, I learned to love field hockey independently of hanging out with my friends. So, you know, it might be that they're not picking up a stick because they're sad that they don't get to see their friends. So I think that, you know, that's okay too. And we just want to reinforce the joy that comes with movement. So I've just been trying to do that, and re-potty train too. But that's like a whole nother, that's another ball game. So I think
Another sidebar.
Typical other sidebar. But I would say, like, my big thing for parents is like, this has been so overwhelming for parents, that if you can have joy with your kids in movement and like mirror that and be the model of movement and joy going together, like, that's a win. And when they get back out on the fields, like, you look at all these coaches right here, or these players, we're like ready to go do the hockey bit too. So that's probably what I'd say.
Yes, I love tying joy to movement. That's such a really key idea. Amanda, I would love to kick it over to you and hear a little bit about how you're keeping joy in your workouts at home and how you're getting creative and adapting during this time.
Yeah, so I think, you know, at the elite level, there's a couple different aspects of our training. There's obviously the physical aspect and, you know, getting our workouts done. But I think this has been mentioned by Jenna and Phil both. But I think cross training is really something that is beneficial. So, you know, getting outside, learning how to play soccer, and just moving and learning different movement patterns, because it does ultimately translate, and it helps you think about both movement and your sport in a different way. And then obviously there's the hockey aspect of it. So I think something that has been a benefit of this quarantine is that there's been so much online videos and resources being put out, which is something that, especially for field hockey and as a sport that we're looking to grow, I think is something that will benefit not only will just benefit the community and benefit the young kids coming up, because they can, you know, type on YouTube, I'm looking up, you know, how to do a reverse chip, and find how to do it on their own and get outside. But besides that, I think it's, for me specifically, it's trying to be deliberate with my practice. So setting myself with a goal and trying to, you know, work on that. But I think, just as like Jenna and Phil said, it's just about getting outside and getting creative with whatever you're using. You know, you might be using a tennis ball, a soccer ball. For cones, you might have cones, you might not. Can you use a water bottle or cans? For a rebound board, what are you using? Can you, find a block of wood that you might have laying around the house? Can your kids use the back of the couch? That's when I was in high school, I would just constantly be hitting it against the back of the couch. And luckily my mom wouldn't get too mad. But or do you have a basement wall that kids can find and be training on their own? What are you using for goals, garbage cans, buckets, different surfaces? And I think also getting out on different surfaces, as Phil kind of mentioned, can be a benefit. Like there can be a benefit to playing on grass. There can be a benefit to playing on, pavement and speeding up your hands. So I think just getting outside, being creative and kind of accepting, the circumstance and looking at it as like an opportunity to grow versus, this obstacle that I can't get over.
No, that's awesome. That reframing of obstacle to opportunity is really, really important as an athlete and as a coach and as a parent, as a human being. Important tool to reframe. Phil, as someone else who works in that high performance environment, what about parents who are worried that their child is missing out right now because they can't have regular training, and maybe you want to help them as a parent, but you're not a coach or you don't know the game?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Heidi. I was thinking about that after you posed it the other day, and I think there's kind of the way I thought about it, there's two sides of it. The first side is kind of a bit flippant, but does that matter? Right now, in the context we're in, just before we jumped on the call, an email popped in my inbox, and it was an NCAA update about mental health issues in student athletes and everything that's going on right now. So I think in the bigger picture things, in this particular moment, what is the purpose of sport is an important question to ponder, perhaps, and could get quite deep. But I mean, the words play, fun, and joy have been dotted throughout this conversation so far, and I think that's the most important part about the role of sport, or the most impactful thing that sport can do in people's lives, no matter whether they're kids or adults. I think it's important to go and play for physical and mental and social well-being. I think that's the first point. And I think other bits have kind of been touched on already, is if kids are choosing to go and play, and they're choosing to go and play field hockey right now, then that tells you something about their motivation. It's their intrinsic motivation to go out there and do it. That's important, and it can't become a chore like making your bed in the morning. So that's the first part, is that kind of mental health. Is just go and play and see the benefits in that, the joy in the movement, as Chrissy said. The second piece is from with my high performance hat on, is that obviously there's a reason we pay money and we want to be part of a team and we want to be coached and we want to be on the field. There's inherent value in that. If there wasn't, we wouldn't pay for it, and as parents wouldn't pay for our kids to go and do that kind of thing. But that can sometimes come at a cost, that we forget about the other avenue for development, which is this informal play pickup. I mean, you only have to look at a basketball hoop in a driveway in Indiana, or a small ad hoc soccer pitch in the middle of a Brazilian favela, or people playing a baseball type game with a bottle top in the Dominican. These are like talent development hotbeds where there's no real formal coaching there. I think there's a real opportunity right now just for kids to explore through play and actually take their game to a different level, because they've just tried different things. And it'll be really interesting to see when we come back out of this, how as coaches we adapt to that. Do we give the kids the space to keep trying the things they've been trying, knowing that probably initially there might be a bit of failure when they get back in, because if they've been practicing in their backyard by themselves, it's going to be a bit different when suddenly they're trying to do it in a game or in a practice with more people running around. So we have to support them to bring it back into that environment. But yeah, that idea of, I guess, deliberate play as a way of getting better right now is a real opportunity that often, just the way we live in the Western world, is we don't often create enough space for that. It's often deliberate practice. So there's definite benefits to this as well. And I think in the long term, if we can take that bird's eye view from above and really look at this in the context of the bigger picture, I think we might see some initial, some kids might struggle a little bit when they get back into their teams, just for a variety of reasons. But in the bigger picture, if they're doing this because they love it and they want to get out there because it's fun and they see the joy in it, then in the bigger picture, we're going to see better players, more satisfied players. And to Sally's point at the beginning, we're going to see kids who are engaged in sport for a lifetime, as opposed to just through middle school and then calling it a day. So yeah, there's challenges, but there's also great opportunity, as Amanda said, right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think reassuring to hear too, if you're worried about potential for growth. So Amanda, I would love to hear in your athlete journey what parental and family support looked like for you.
Yeah. So real quick, just going back to Phil's point and Chrissy's point a little bit, but like, I also think that it's okay if your child like isn't, doesn't want to be outside right away. I think that really is okay. And, their joy might come back later on when you do get to go to practice and they pick up a stick again and they're like, wow, I've missed this for so long. So I do think there's also value in that. But yes, they both kind of had both different roles in supporting me in my journey. My plays softball a lot, so I was fortunate to have him as my coach. And then my mom took on more of a supportive role, and she was kind of, would do the book at games and keep my stats for me, or just like encourage me and ask me about how the game was, or even just like was be like, okay, let's not talk about softball or sports. So I think just both of those in different ways. In my, obviously, I think as a parent, I'm not one, but I think as a kid, the most valuable thing is being encouraging and is also being engaged in your child's successes. So taking an interest in what they're interested in and kind of like outlining what Jenna provided, like your ability to learn the sport and be able to then engage your children about the sport more, but in a supportive role and not in a coached manner in that time is super valuable. So.
That's awesome. Yeah. And it's going to look different for everybody and in different stages. I'd love to get an idea from everyone on the panel. If you could give me just a quick snapshot of what parent support looked like for you in your athletic journey growing up, because I know we're all athletes here. Phil, can I start with you?
Yes, if I can unmute myself. Yes, I can share my lovely.
Oh yes.
My mum. I know Chrissy like this. My mum's going to be so happy. I told her about it.
Got a shout out.
Yeah, this when you asked this, when we were discussing this the other day, this was the big thing that stood out for me, amongst many things. Like obviously the parental support is just absolutely. I'm very, very fortunate. But yeah, in the context of where we are right now, isolated at home, the biggest. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, the biggest support my parents gave me was space and environment to go play, basically. So this is my backyard growing up. On the left, there's not much evidence of any living flowers. There's grass, which is decidedly ropey, a cricket pitch in the summer and a hockey pitch and soccer pitch and occasional rugby mud bath in the winter. And on the right, you can see what it looks like now. So I think it was my mum's willingness to wait 20 years, 30 years, whatever, to actually have a garden that she now enjoys sitting in, and rather than the mud bath that it was. So that would be the biggest thing for me. And I think that the role of the parent in terms of providing just environment, providing space to play, whatever that may be, that might just be the living room. It might be just a corridor, entry hall or whatever, that is just a space that is appropriate to play in with the right equipment. That to me was absolutely invaluable. And it was nothing more than, in the context of the backyard, nothing more than that. There was never any coaching. I think the phrase I used when we were talking the other day was, it's not about being a solution provider. It's just about being a problem setter if you're going to do anything. And in this case, it was just about making an environment available for us to go and play in. So me and my brother, and you'll notice that in this particular picture, I just scored. These are actually
Very humble in a typical brotherly relationship. You're very humble about the fact that you beat your younger brother.
Well, this is, I mean, obviously, this, if you haven't picked up on by my accent, I'm not from America. This photo is taken from a few thousand miles away in England, but these are actually coincidentally for the DC connection. These are actually Redskin pants that my brother is wearing here.
So good. Jenna, could you maybe share a picture of, or a specific example of what parental support looked like for you?
I don't have a picture, but yeah, parental support. I just remember, so I was one of five kids. So my parents just were able, really were able to provide that positive energy and support. And so I always look back, and obviously I remember the sport specific memories, but that were my connections and relationship, I think, strengthened with my parents. They were there, they were supporting me. I know they were just as excited when I stepped on the field or I was in the backyard practicing. We shared that same love and excitement for the game and just for in sport. Seeing that they were happy that I was happy and I was, progressing, that they were there when I had my failures, but then also had my successes. And they didn't really intervene too much, but they were always there to support. They were always there to listen. And I think that's the biggest thing that you can do. Continue to support your child through it all. Hopefully, if they're going to have some struggles, be there for them, but also let them grow a little bit, let them self-advocate. I think that's so important, but be there as their supporting role, providing that unconditional love, and then be just someone that can listen. And then if you do ask questions, make sure it's just really focused around the experience, because I think that's the biggest part. After games, just, or after a practice, a big thing is, look, how was it? We want to talk about it. If they don't want to talk about it, let it go. But I think really keeping that supporting role, having that positive energy, and really making sure that you're there for and just about the experience itself, and not getting too much in the technical side of things. But that's something that I, like my parents can still continue to share and talk about. And like I said, I really do appreciate their love and support through it all, and couldn't thank them enough.
Turning into Parent Appreciation Afternoon. Not a bad thing. Sally, do you have a quick snapshot of what parental support looked like for you?
Sure. I was so lucky. I was a product of Title IX, and my parents were amazing. They encouraged and allowed my brother and myself to do everything and anything. And so I did 5 sports in high school, and they supported all of those very happily. And then as a parent, we always tried to add fun things to the kids' experience. So I'd like to actually speak from that. Like, one of our favorite traditions in our hometown field hockey is for a playoff game, instead of getting a regular school bus, we get the party bus with the disco ball, so that on the ride home, it's a party. Win or lose, doesn't matter. It's a reward for a wonderful, fun time. So I think brownies are also really important.
Brownies are a key staple of any athletic endeavor.
Exactly.
Fully behind that. Awesome. Chrissy, would you like to give us a snapshot and then maybe bring us home?
Yeah, sure. I want to thank everybody for coming and sort of sharing these. And as a parent, I want to say we appreciate the love. And for all the parents out there, if no one's told you yet today, you're doing a great job. So I think that's important to note. But I think, like what Jenna said, and I saw Amanda shaking her head, like if your kids don't want to engage and if it wants to be their thing, I think that's great. I was saying the other day, like, my dad is a huge golfer, and I feel like I could smell it that he really wanted me to fall in love with golf. And so, like, I didn't pick up a golf anything until I became an adult. And then I tried to like Happy Gilmore and like run on the course because I was like, well, it's like field hockey, right? But I think one of the reasons I picked field hockey as a snarky 11-year-old was that it was a sport that had nothing to do with my parents. It was nothing they played, and they couldn't tell me how to play, right? Because they didn't my dad still goes like, why do they blow the whistle so much? So, and he comes to my games as coaches occasionally. So I think that as a parent too, like, it's the way my parents support me is they let field hockey be my thing. I'm from a family of 5. And so I didn't get things that were my own, and field hockey was mine. And so I think that is a really important thing to note during this time, that, if your kid some kids love it when you engage with them and other kids don't. So I think that parent support for me was letting it, child of 5, Jenna can attest to this, you have to share all the time. And like field hockey, I didn't have to share my sticks. It was mine. So and they let me be like in my own little world. So that was what parent support looked like. So I think like for me to wrap it up for all the parents, I would say, like, I think you saw it. USA Field Hockey is an incredible, incredible resource. We don't need to go reinvent the wheel over here at Beyond Sticks. They have done it for us, and they've done a really amazing job. And we're going to send that through to you. And we do a lot of that when we get back out on the fields. We incorporate a lot of these go cards. We incorporate a lot of what they're play. We incorporate those amazing go balls. Father's Day present. So, I would say we are so appreciative of what the governing body has done for us. But, in closing, for parents, I would say, it's sort of like what Phil said. If you build it, they will come. So give them space. Let your gardens get sort of ruined. You can have your own little patch, right? But that's going to be instrumental in sort of just setting the stage. And, honestly, at this time, like, your own mental health is important, and your children's mental health, and your family's mental health. And if all those things are set up well, the field hockey is going to come down the road, or the sport's going to come down the road. So I want to thank USA Field Hockey for being incredible. We will send out all these resources and a copy of this at the end. And again, if you feel so inclined, we are a small group. And so if you think this is valuable, we encourage you to check out the donation for our site. But we hope you have a great day. And I think our parting message to everybody is, you've had a long day of work, so go find some joy. And that is what I will leave you with. And we really look forward to seeing you all next week. We're going to share some of our Play Beyond the Game tools, which, Heidi says it's great for being a good player or a good human being. And that's really what we do with Beyond Sticks. It's like what Sally said, winning is number 42. So we think for number 1 is to have fun, but then also to think about how these life lessons translate into everything we do. So we're going to share with our coaches some of our favorite ones of those next week. So thank you to our panelists. Thank you to our participants. And we couldn't play field hockey if it wasn't for parents. So thank you for you. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you, everyone.
Go find joy.